shoot. Let's close that, reopen it just to see if we can get chat back. Internet died. So sorry. It's irritating when it happens, and it happens. I don't know if it happens in this area, but it certainly happens with our internet. I'm just like, but yeah, hopefully that's better now. Let's go through and kind of pull this out, make this kind of more of a shelf. I mean, this is kind of more of me just trying to figure things out and kind of play with an idea. I don't know that this will actually stay in my final model or not, but it's certainly worth playing with. It's like one of the things I was seeing that I kind of liked was having the YouTube stream ended just completely and totally. Let's see if we can yeah, one of the things about YouTube, it seems like if the stream ends, you kind of have to I'll have to go through and do those brownies, because I've tried a few brownie recipes and DIY cheese. That'll be funny. Yeah, Mike Pavlovich also got a bunch of videos up lately, so definitely go. But when you go on, it's offline. Let me see your channel. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of refreshing and kind of getting that to go or whatnot. It'll be yeah, here it goes. It'll start to kind of do Infinity Screen, but slowly. It's kind of funny. It's always kind of a funny thing there. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, just trying to explore and play. A lot of what I do, since that's been kind of my job with Disney, was exploration, experimentation. That's just kind of what I do, what I tend to do anyway. So I'm just going through and trying to experiment with, a little extra shape on there. I mean, I think it could be cool to have like they have issues, streams end randomly, and it's all kind of like just kind of a pain in the butt, but it's just like this thing you kind of got to live with technology, right? little bits that are just annoying. Well, let's see, with this body, let's go ahead and I'm going to say, in fact, let's do it this way. Control Shift A, subtool, split hidden, and I want two things. I want to go through and rename arms hands. I want to make sure the hands do not have Dynamesh turned on. Because if that was on and I accidentally, like, you know, unmasked and they remeshed, it would just be just a nightmare. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that on the one hand, having this half shirt on there, if it works for the character, then it's cool. Right now, currently, I'm just having struggles kind of thinking that it just doesn't really work. So I might just leave it off for now. I mean, it's like I had this waist cape on there at one point, and it just got to a point where it just felt messy. So, you know, maybe it's just a matter of just not having that on there. And I'm just gonna kind of pull some of these lighter grays on here so that the hair doesn't have so much contrast. So it feels a little bit more unified. Okay, let me see. Yeah, we'll keep that the way it is for now, and especially since I want to go through and do kind of like that that patterning on his body. Let's try something with that. Let's go over here, and I want to let's open this in Photoshop. Open with, where is open with? There we go. Photoshop. Okay. Okay. So let me see. Right now, let's do this. Just going to kind of boost that. Boost it from the other direction. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to, let's select the black. Let's turn off contiguous so we get all the black. And then I want to go ahead and say select, modify. Oh, you know what? Let's do this instead. Let's duplicate that layer. And then we'll come up and we'll say filter, stylize, or should be like posterize or something like that. Let's go into the filter gallery. So right now it has six levels. I don't want it to have 6 levels. I want it to just have 2. Okay, and something like that works a lot better. Edge simplicity. Interesting. So yeah, let's play with that. Let's see. Let's turn our simplicity down because it's kind of blurring these shapes down at the bottom together a little bit. Okay, we'll say okay. So now you can see here's our new shapes and here's our old ones. There's much more clarity to the shapes now, which that's good. What I want to do is I want to take this, I want to turn this into an alpha for a brush. And we'll kind of use this to kind of play with the gold pattern. Possibly, we'll see. The other thing we can try, I've got this one, which is super cool. and it's tileable, which is really nice. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure this is 1-to-1. Okay, so one of the things that I'm seeing is that there's like an extra pixel or two around the outside, and that'll create weird seams. So I'm just going to zoom in here pretty tight. Let's kind of pull this in. Right there. Just 1 pixel. And then that should be tileable. That should be good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control A, Control Shift C. Actually, not even Control Shift C. Let's go up to Edit, Define Pattern. I'm going to say Japanese scales 01. And then Control S. Hold on, let's flatten this first. This is a JPEG image. Flatten image, Control S. One of the things that we can do is that if we wanted to go through and actually make like a brush for Photoshop or for ZBrush for this, using this as like a stencil, we could go in here. We can select our marquee. Just kind of drag it out. Make sure that our selection is in the center. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use, those are both the wrong color. Let's go ahead and make a black circle just for the sake of being able to make selections. I'm just wanting to make sure that this is covered. Okay, so I'm going to control click on that now. I'm going to select the background, hit Control J. In fact, let's do this instead. Let's go ahead, Control J the whole thing. Control J the whole thing. Okay, we'll bring that up to the top. We'll go ahead, we'll make a black background. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and we'll control click the circle. Select this, hit our layer mask, and then we can come up to filter. What with the layer mask selected, we can go down to blur and we can go Gaussian blur. In fact, let's shrink this mask down some before we blur it. Okay, so now let's go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Not that big of a blur, not that small of a blur. We want it to try to get it so that it gets up close to the edge but not quite touching. Say okay, and we'll test it out. We'll see how it goes. Brush test. Save, okay. The other thing that we can do is we can go ahead and we can try something like, instead of just doing this, we can go ahead and say in fact, we don't even need that. We're good. And that should be good. So let's try this. Let's try this. Okay, so we can come over here and we can say for our brush, I don't want to have it as spray. I want to have it as dots. I'm going to change my brush alpha. We're going to say import and bring in this brush test. Come here. Let's get something we can see easily. see if we can figure out what's going on. Oh, wrong subtool selected. Well, you can see it's like it's creating some interesting looks. I think in order to really make this work, maybe just pick drag dot. It's not high enough resolution to make it work nicely though. So you can see like it's pulling out that pattern. Let's see. The other thing we can do is we can use the add to kind of make it so that it's colored and it's got the and it's got the color information, the color and the height information. This gets to be really pretty neat, but I'm not sure that I'm liking kind of how that's working. So I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try taking this. Let's turn on dots, turn off alpha. We'll come over to stroke, modifiers, roll. Okay. And then, yeah, let's turn in an alpha, but we need to import the new one. So we're going to import the one that we modified. Okay. So now hopefully we should be able to go ahead and, yeah. Looks like it'll get us a good repeating pattern if we have our mesh at a high enough of a resolution. And one of the tricky things is it looks like it's going through and kind of projecting things according to the camera angle. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty banging right there. Pretty spank. And let's go ahead, turn on the ZBG. Let's get it to be more saturated. So yeah, it's nice at least to see that I can drag out that pattern and have it just repeat. Okay, so again, that was just created using that roll. It's great to be able to just kind of create little texture spots. But yeah, I'll have to experiment with that. I think that going through and adding those sorts of flakes and things, I think that's something that we'll probably have to worry about, possibly procedurally, maybe using like XGen or something like that. I'll have to figure that out. Because that's something that I want to do. That's something that I think will totally make this project sing. I don't know, what do you think? Have that texture in there or take it out? I'd say take it out. Okay. But yeah, anyway. Options. It's getting warm in here. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's the original. Okay, let me see. Let's go ahead and save this so that we're not losing our progress. And let's go ahead and zero that out so we only have the one the one tool open rather. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and start incorporating our sword into this. go ahead and make a character folder so we can just close that out and kind of narrow down our subtool list a little bit. I'm gonna keep this in here just for memory's sake. This needs to go into our mask folder. So let's do that. Okay, so tusks, teeth, glow, eyes. Okay, yeah. I think everything should be good now. Okay, so let's narrow that down. Okay, so now we've got the sword. Let's turn the sword back on. And let's just focus on it. Okay. Yeah, it could be cool to keep the mask on as inspiration. I don't know. We'll have to see. And maybe, let's try something. Just in the interest of seeing what it would be like. Let's go ahead and say... something like this. Say alpha, grab doc. And then we'll say make 3D. Oh, that's terrible. Alpha. There we go. See, now we have a 3D representation of the mesh of the mask, which is really, really cool. You know, we can kind of flatten it out some, make it more of a coin type surface. One of the things that's really kind of tricky about playing with these sorts of things is just how how it treats the edges. So I try to go through and kind of smooth it out some. In fact, it's symmetrical, or should be symmetrical, so let's go ahead and only do half the work. So here's kind of, and I don't know for sure like how they actually do coins, but this is the first thing that kind of pops into my head is like having a sculpt, and then you go through and you essentially turn it into an alpha. And then like a depth red alpha, and then you can kind of print it. I mean, that takes care of undercuts, that takes care of, I mean, obviously there's like a little extra sculpting you got to do at the end to make it so that it's really the way that you want it. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to reach out to my buddy Joe Mena over at the U.S. Mint and see what his recommendation is, because that's what he does for a living. Is he's the senior coin sculptor for the U.S. Mint, which is pretty stinking cool. So yeah, this is probably about where I'll leave this. I'll save it, but it's samurai mask relief. It's kind of interesting. Let's jump back over here. So that's what I was seeing, that extra little bit there on the side. Okay. Alright, so for this sword, you know what? Let's jump over to this. I want to color pick from here. Let's say color, fill object. In fact, let's go color with the material selected so that way it's properly done. One of the things that happened, I'm not sure how it happened or why it happened. It sort of welded my pieces together in a really, really weird way. So I'm just going to come over here, hit Control W, invert, hit Control W. And actually maybe what I'll do is with this piece, you know what? With this piece, I can just say split hidden. Let's go ahead and swap out which one's visible. And then we'll just say split hidden. That way I don't have to worry about weird, weird connection points and things like that. There's this, how did that get to be not blue anymore? MRGB. Maybe it's because of that. Color, fill object. No, it's still... That is really, really weird. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and kind of color pick this. I want to add some gold accents. And then with the blade, I do want it to be silver, but there's this really cool thing that happens with samurai swords with the way that they're forged. Oh, shoot. Let's pull this up. Traditional Japanese katana. It's a Filipino katana. Now there's this really cool thing that happens with the blade because of the way that the metal is folded. Oh, I really, really like that and that. Daido. It's kind of hard to see in any of these images. Well, there we go. We're kind of getting some of that look right here. You see how it's got like that pattern, that noise on there, the dark versus the light. It's a really neat effect. So that'll be happening to the blade later on. A vintage Korean sword. That's kind of cool. It's not Japanese, but yeah, it's cool. No, I mean, at this point, technically, I could totally go and pull influences from all sorts of areas. Okay. This one has kind of the pattern on the blade, but it feels like it was made purposefully rather than just being kind of part of the forging. There was a series that I'd watched on YouTube that showed the katana forging process, and it was amazing. It was so cool. Oh yeah, right here. So they're going through and they're like protecting parts of the blade to keep the color in place. Bookmark that just for reference later on. That's really pretty. I like that. Maybe what I'll do is I'll open this image, save image to the right folder, because that's kind of cool. And this would be like on the pommel of the actual sheath instead of on the pommel of the sword. But just great little ideas, I guess, of things to use. I'm gonna say clone. I'm gonna come over to this. Initialize. Cube. Hopefully the internet's still working. I always get paranoid, especially when I'm like teaching classes. Let me see, control W. And then I want what do I want to do? I am trying to, let's make a flower. Let's make a little I think I know what I want to do for this flower too. 45-degree angle. Insert edge loop, insert edge loop. Let's kind of pull this in. Let's do slice curve, slice right through there. Let's do a slice right through there. You know what? I'm just gonna, oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to get the selection. Let's do that. Delete hidden. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to create a petal that feels kind of like a lotus petal, but I want it to feel a little bit sharper, or like a cherry blossom petal, but I want it to feel sharper. What I could do, actually, let's go ahead, since I have something already. Let's do this. Load tool. starting to lose energy because of all the because of how warm it's getting. Where is it? Oh my goodness. I'm losing my mind. I am losing my mind. Oh, here we go. Okay, so you see we've got like these petals right here. I don't think I want to have the whole flower, but I think certainly I want to use there we go. Yeah, we'll just take that over. And we will say over here, we will say let's come down to this. Insert round petals. And I only want this piece, but we got to go through. Let's make sure this is in the center. Come on. Modify topology, delete hidden, delete lower, delete hidden. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to use. Let's try this. I don't use array mesh very often. It might be worth going through and trying it out. So I want to say repeat 5 times. We'll say rotate. Oh, so putting it in the center, I went into geometry, and at the bottom there's this position tab. Super, super helpful. I mean, you can see already I've got it kind of just off center, so I've got to kind of go ahead and just put in a 0 right there. And now it's all centered in our scene. Now I can restore symmetry and be able to work on things really nicely, and it's really, really nice. I use these things all the time. There's position, there's size. The size one is really helpful for when you're developing things for micropoly. So yeah, definitely good thing to know, huh, Mike? Let's go ahead, turn to rotate, and I want to rotate in the Z. Let's go. I hate numlock. In my computer in particular, it seems like it feels like it can deal without numlock, and so it's always turning it off. I thought for sure I had turned it on since turning on my computer, but I guess not. Okay, so one of the cool things is that now I can, whatever I do to one will affect the rest. So either I can go through and kind of make something a little bit, fancier like this. I don't know that that's working for me or not, but yeah, I mean, so you can do things like this, or you can come in here and you can say an offset in, let's go in the Y amount. Oh, maybe it's not the, how does it go? How does it go? How does it go? How does it go? There we go. Just changing the pivot, I guess. There we go. And now we can go ahead and we can kind of modify things, make it pretty, make it work. And since this isn't all geometry yet, this is something that we can go ahead and we can modify and tweak until our hearts are content. And I'm working in symmetry, which is nice because that'll help to really boost. Let's lock our camera. Really boost our productivity. So let's go ahead, change our focal shift down. Okay. I'm going to try adding in a couple of primitives here. Let's use that's kind of cool, especially having like the gold color in there against the against the other color there. That's pretty neat. Kind of boost that up a little bit. Drag it into the mesh some. Okay, so one of the things I want to do eventually I'm going to want to make sure that that's split out and then it becomes its own thing. But let me see, let's look up. This is what they have, which is cool, but it's not quite what I want. No, what are those discs called? I can't remember off the top of my head. Let's look up. Sakura. No, not the character. Come on. Let's look up Sakura crests. Here we go. The Kamon, or the Kamon. The Kamon. The Kamon. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody listening to me trying to say any of this is going to be like, dude, it's obviously. But yeah, this is the stuff that I was trying to look for. Let me see. I like this. Here, let me try something because I think that it could be worthwhile. Here, let me. I really like how that's looking, man. Okay, let's see. Not that. I want to say extract. Let's say extract. Okay, so since this is not quite what I want, I'm going to go ahead and Control-Shift-A, Geometry, delete hidden. Now we can kind of shape out one the way that we want. Oops. if we can use the move brush instead of the something like that. And then I wonder if I were to go ahead and say merge down. Yeah. Ah, but I went through and it pushed all that stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll just adjust our offset. Let's go back to our array mesh. So our pivot, we want to take the amount and just make it so it's not so much. I'm liking that. It's a little bit too much though. There's a secret secondary slider. If you go a little bit higher, like go to the top of the if you go to the top of the slider area, you'll see there's like a secondary slider that shows up. I forget about it sometimes. Let's go over here. Let's say geometry, delete hidden, and then we'll go ahead and we'll add in another set. I like having two of them and I like having them close together. I think that just feels cool. Let's just kind of push this together again. Control H to hide. And then I want to go ahead and add some sort of stem in there. I'm going to turn off the array mesh for a second. Let's make this brush a lot bigger. I want to make the stem smaller, but I want to make because otherwise it's just too weird. Still weird. But you have all of them together and it's less weird. For this piece, let's go ahead and take it and give it a darker color. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and kind of play with overlap a little bit on that. I do kind of want to go through and kind of play with some of the shape a little bit more on this. Let's get this out of the sword folder. That way we can just kind of play with it on its own. Let's go ahead and smooth this out. I mean, in the end, I want that to feel kind of more like a more like a carved pattern, something that is better represented, like as a stamp on a sword, rather than, well, not necessarily a stamp on a sword, but certainly an emblem. Because they have these really, really cool yeah, I think that'll work. These details need to be a little bit bigger though. So here's what we'll do. We'll kind of center out these pieces. Bring it down here. Grow it up a little bit. Oops. There we go. Even without the color, I feel like these are not apparent enough. I feel like that's working better. And then let's just go ahead and put another little ball here just in the center. Change up the rotation there. I don't know if I like that or not. We'll have to think about it. But I think that this is working. This is what I want. Okay, so let's go ahead and Ooh, so sorry. Okay, so now we've got this flat mesh that we can deal with. I'm going to take this this blue side and we are going to, come on, drag it out and flatten it. Come on, flatten it, drag it out. And what I need is for this back to be nice and even and flat. Otherwise it's going to be extremely weird. So now that I have all of that, I can come over here. Oh, that's interesting. Save an array preset file. You can come down, you can say make mesh. Okay. Which means now it's going to come over here and it's going to commit that whole thing to geometry. So whereas before it was only 31,000 polys, now it's 157,000. Just to be clear on that. Okay, so this little guy needs to be turned. Here, let's go ahead and turn on the sword, turn on the mask. I want to make sure that I have the right color there. And in fact, ooh, that could be nice. Let's go through, let's actually do something like, let's do something like this. We'll go ahead, color, mRGB, fill object, and then let's do some of these pieces differently. Color, fill that. Let's go ahead, come over here. Here, let's grab this as well. Color, fill that. So that way it's got some variation there. And then I'll even go ahead with my, let's do this. Masking, let's say mask by AO. And it looks like that's not doing well. Let's try cavity. Smoothness. Good golly, that's too much. Let's try peaks and valleys. Well, it's at least getting me something. It might just be that I don't have enough surface variation for this to really be working. Smoothness is usually pretty good one to use, but as you can see, it's like it's pulling in the masking to the whole thing. So it's like, so anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you know, that light color, okay, and I'm going to use my standard brush, and let's go ahead and grab that that alpha again, apply color spray, and I just want to affect, you know what, let's do this, Control Shift A, Control W. Oh, but I don't know that I necessarily want this one, this back poly group to be the same. I just want these to be the same. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this real quick. mRGB, color, fill object, just to make sure that that's solid. Okay, now we can go ahead and we can do this. Control H just to hide the mask. Select that color. And now what I want to do, it's going to get a little bit trickier. I'm going to turn off symmetry just so I can get more of an organic look. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn off Z add. Okay, so we should be good now. Essentially, I just want to add in a little bit of like a high color to some of these areas, like around the edge where it might get a little bit more of a buffing or rubbing against surfaces and whatnot. Now just going to kind of add a little bit of a dark color variation to some of these valleys. The point of this is really just to kind of give some visual interest to this little detail, help it feel a little bit more like worn, natural sort of metal. And you can see like it's starting to feel much more natural right there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get some of that kind of coming in over here. Okay, you can see like the way that the black, or the dark color anyway, is starting to affect everything. Let's sort of buff this out some so that we get some of that high color back. Yeah. It's not starting to look like something that we might see, you know, something that we could reasonably find somewhere. Just gonna kind of pull in some high colors as well, just to see kind of how the high colors affect the overall look. It looks pretty good. So we'll call that good. We will let's do, I'm going to need this to be a lot lower resolution. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll probably come over here, let's say, well, I went ahead and I duplicated it out first, okay? But the thing I want to do, let's try Z-Remesher. And then I'll go ahead and I will project colors over from from other pieces. But I want to make sure that this is pretty doggone low. This is really high resolution. It doesn't have to be. Okay, so we're going to turn off adapt. Let's say keep groups, because that'll hopefully help to guide the remeshing process on these big petals. All right. Let's see. Yeah, let's try it. See how it goes. It's definitely way too low. Let's try it at 2. And I don't know, maybe it's just worth getting rid of the back there. Delete hidden. And now we'll say autosave. It is already noon o'clock. Oh my goodness. It certainly seems like it's working a lot better. So I mean, it would just require a little bit of it doesn't even require any reworking. That looks pretty slick for what I need. Smoothed out, it doesn't look like much, but I mean it's fine. That's fine. So now we'll just go ahead and we can just copy colors over. Oops, not that. Okay, so that's good. object. Get something a little bit darker to kind of fill in this back spot right here. Get it to be really dark for this real center here. Okay. And then we'll come up, we'll say, get that color. Fill that in. Yeah, and since I don't need so many of these little pieces in the center, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of all of them except for one. And then I'll just kind of rework the one so that it feels more like it's centered. I think that's a lot better. Cleaner for sure. Okay, geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. Alright, so now that's cool. That'll be our low poly flower. It's going to kind of add a little bit more of that dark back in there to the center of the bright parts. And we'll call that good. Let's go ahead and zero that out because we don't need anything else over there anymore. And cool. So let's just go ahead and shrink it down. I mean, it's going to need to be a little bit, well, quite a bit smaller in order to fit in places where I need it. So maybe what I'll do is, let's go ahead and center that. Control, click, and drag. Let's kind of bring this up to the center. And then let's go over to, oh, IMM primitives has not even been replaced yet. So let's do this because I need my IMM primitives brush. Let's get the folder open. Library, ZBrush, library, must-haves, brushes, and then I need the IMM primitives. Control copy, Pixelogic, ZBrush 2021, ZData, brush presets, Control paste, replace the file, and we're good. Okay, so now we can come over here and we can say reset all brushes, and now it's going to look at that folder and kind of reset looking at it. You've already used the position thing twice. Oh, good. I'm glad it's been helpful already. Yeah, there are my primitives. All right, so here's what I want. So now that I have this, I'm going to come over here, select the cylinder. We're going to pull this out. It does need to be thick enough so that it's believable, especially for the size that it's going to be. It's going to be super, super tiny. So we got this, and actually let's go ahead, let's use Z modeler. We're going to say extrude polyloop, and then let's say extrude edge loop. I thought it still worked. Oh well. Oh well. Okay, so we'll just do this then. We'll just extrude this poly loop here, and then we'll just come over here and say insert and get rid of that edge loop as it was. In fact, maybe I want to change it so there's a little bit of a chamfer there, so it's not completely straight out. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I want to do the same thing for the bottom. So what we're gonna do, let's grab this. And scale it out a little bit. And we'll just kind of pull it down some so that it's not like, so it doesn't feel completely unnatural. Okay, so that's looking lovely. Trying to make sure that all the shapes fit together nicely. Might need to make it a little flatter. And then I have this idea for adding in the side bits. I want this. Okay, do something like that. Obviously, it doesn't need to be that thick. Let's pull this in so that it's pretty tight with that shape, or tight with the thickness of that shape anyway. And we'll, let's see. I want to insert multiple edge loops here. And, okay, I know how I'm going to do it. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and say bevel. Edge loop complete, sure. Shoot. Do something like that. I'm going to say insert single edge loop because that's how we roll. Oh, we got a mirror and weld first. One of the things that's really tricky about trying to do something with symmetry, if you're trying to insert an edge loop, you'll notice that like I'll get it to insert on one side but not on the other, even though I do have symmetry turned on. The reason it's not working is because it doesn't have an edge in the middle to be able to say, oh, okay, this is the symmetry point. So now if I were to go ahead and kind of insert one, you'll see, I mean, it's just messed up. So in order to fix that, first off, I need to split the unmasked point because it's not going to work very well for me. You can see there's no point in the middle. So we're going to say mirror and weld. Oh, are we not in the center? Position, we are not in the center. Interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and center this then, because that's just no fun. Who wants to work in asymmetry when you're intending to work in symmetry? Okay, so we got our symmetry turned on. We got that applied. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to say bridge, connected polys, We're going to say, yeah, Bezier curve, great. Interactive curvature, interactive resolution, great. I'm going to say polygroup flat. Oh, it's not working as well as I was hoping. Look at that. It's like twisting inside out. I was hoping that it would go through and create like this cool rounded shape. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something different. And this should work still. This should work just fine. But it's just going to be a little bit different. So we're going to say extrude single poly. Okay, so you can see like the way the edge flow is going, it's already starting to go in the right direction. I just want to kind of continue it so that it kind of like curves and goes one so that it curves into itself, and so this one curves down to itself. So you're getting kind of like this like infinity sort of pattern going on. So essentially what we're going to do, I like the size of that. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and say delete single poly, great. And then I'm going to go ahead and say bevel, edge loop complete. If it's not working perfectly on both sides, then we can just go ahead and mirror and weld and have stuff ready and good and ready to go. But yeah, I definitely want that. So this is starting to work. I'm going to go ahead. I want to make sure that I've got these points selected. Let's move them over and center this. And then we'll just pull it down. I only have a few more minutes to spare, and then I gotta get going. Okay, let's kind of pull this over. Here, let's do this. We'll use our slice curve, bring it over fairly close so that we know that it's not going to be, oh, and that was pretty smack dab in the middle too. This is one brush that does not work with symmetry, so we do have to mirror and weld, but we want to make sure that it's mirroring in the right direction, deformation, mirror, mirror and weld. Okay. So here we go. Let's start bridging things together. Bridge edges. I should probably set myself a timer because I do have somewhere I need to be at a specific time. So let's go ahead. Let's say insert, just so I can make sure, because the nice thing about having insert multiple edge loops, you can see like it's not putting in the edge loop right where I clicked. It's putting it in right in the middle, which is extremely handy, just in case you didn't know. It's helpful. I don't have to worry about measuring. I don't have to worry about guessing. It's just there, and it just does it, and it's nice. Okay, so I'm going to grab these points and these points, but I want to get rid of these points and these points. Center that. Oops. Local symmetry. And actually, let's take these points and these points And we'll just kind of pull them in toward each other. Oops. Is it unmasked well enough? It's like it's going super slow. Yeah, let's go 1. Whoa. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and say stitch, 2 points to end point. That's great. So this way I just get that flow coming around. Now I'm trying to think, because, you know what, let's get rid of that and we'll get rid of that. No. Yeah, we'll just stitch. We'll just commit to that for right now. Because I feel like my brain is not working the way that I want it to be. So let's see. Oops. Okay, so here's where I'm going to go through and just kind of do a little bit of my brain is starting to get to a point where it's like not wanting to work. Ooh, that's too much thickness. And that's too much thickness. And it's a good amount of thickness. Okay, I'm just going to use this extrude edge. I don't want it to be perpendicular. Free angle, please. Free move. Maybe that's a big part of what's... Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let's get rid of this back half here. Modified topology, delete hidden. Alright, now let's try this. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, just extrude it, just move it in. Free move, single row, free side. Should be fine, but it's not. Okay. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say delete poly, and I'm going to say close hole. Close polygroup flat. We're going to go resolution that, optimal curvature. No, just leave it how it is, I guess. Good. Good. Okay. Okay. So the reason I'm trying it this way, that hopefully I can come in here now and I can say split split point, and I can get my edge flow. should be the same on both sides. Sweet. Now we're in business. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll say slide edge. And we will take this point and this point, and we will move them to align with that. Okay. That is really buggy. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Delete hidden. Okay. So far, this is starting to actually work. Might have taken a little while, but it's starting to finally work. Sometimes it's just a bit about troubleshooting. Local symmetry. Pull it out, pull it in. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll just slide. I don't know, I'm trying to figure out like how to best make the shape that I'm trying to make. And when your brain's being thick, it just makes it hard sometimes. In fact, we can just get rid of this. I don't know why I'm messing with this particular edge loop, and I don't need it. Okay, let's just get rid of it. Do that, do that. Pull that out some. Okay, I mean I might have to go through and work on it more later. But at least it's going somewhere. Let's bridge these edges together, bridge these edges together, and let's slide this down. Actually, let's do it this way. Since we've been doing it this way, might as well continue doing it this way. Just that way it's at least uniform. Let's go ahead and do this for these points as well. Insert, yeah, single edge loop is fine, I guess. Yeah, let's do multiple edge loops, that way we know it's the center. Ooh. Okay, bridge these together. And then for this, we're going to want to resolve this in the center here somewhere. So let's go ahead and say bridge these. We'll insert an edge loop. Oh, here, let's do this so that we can just kind of keep things uniform. Bridge, insert multiple edge loops. And then we'll go ahead, we'll bridge this to here, this to here. There, 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 there to there. Oh, I need one more. Yeah, I guess what I could do is I could go like this, this, and then I can just insert right here and here, and then I can just bridge this. And then what that, and then that can become, yeah, so let's do this. Okay, Control W. So now I've got this sort of shape, which is exactly what I want. Now, you know, with some tweaks, right? But at least it's got the gist. Just gonna kind of spread these out just a little bit. Give myself a little bit of space between these. Here. Maybe bring it back a little bit. Okay, keep these outside edges where they are. Bring these back in a little bit. And then that should be good. And now I can just go ahead, Control A, or Control Shift A. And we can just kind of smooth these into position so that they're nice and relaxed. And just go ahead and scale it from the center. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to take this whole thing, just kind of scoot it back some, so I can kind of line up with the back end of this this piece. And then I want to extrude all polygons. Oh, here's what I want to do first though. I want to get rid of this. Insert single edge loop, and then I can go ahead and mirror and weld, so that way I've got it so that it's relaxed the same way it is on the other side, you know, on the ends, I guess. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit extrude. And like we were talking about, we want to go through and add a little bit of thickness here. Uh-oh. Dang it! And I haven't saved in I don't know how long. Okay, so it says that the recovered file should be in there. we're gonna test it and see. Usually it's pretty good, so it should be just fine. Recovered tool. Pull it out. Et voila. Control W, just so that it's its own polygroup. Let's go ahead and color fill object, so that way it's all the same material. And then with this, we can go ahead, we can say extrude, polygroup all. And now we've got a little pattern on there. So now it looks good and it's ready to go. In fact, let me see. Let's go ahead and pull this out a little bit. And then pull this in. Okay, so this is, that looks good. That looks pretty stinking good. Let's save it now so that we don't lose it. Okay, here we go. Safe. Alright, so to kind of recap, let's go ahead and turn on our character. The mask is already on. So this is where we got things to today. We did a lot of changes to the coloration. We did some exploration with, you know, material separation, things like that with the mask. And it's starting to come along pretty well. I'm really excited to go through and take this piece and, you know, shrink it down, put it into the hilt of the sword. This will be neat. This will be neat. So yeah, I gotta head out. But thank you guys so much for being here, and hope you had fun. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace out. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Patreon or YouTube, or wherever you want to follow me. That way you can get updates on what it is I'm working on and what it is that I have